Welcome to Top Shelf, where we seek truth,
opinion, perspective,
and we seek solutions. We back at it once again for the village and all of our friends. I didn't even mean for that to rhyme, but you know what I'm saying? That was cool.
Put some bars over here, man, to open it up.
You know, I'm just trying to do what I'm trying to do, man. I'm glad that it's fall, but I'm sad that it's getting colder outside. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm actually happy it's the fall. I like the change of the season because now it's like different attire, different gear, you know, a different feeling. You know,
so
my
you can
birthday
pull those other
falls.
Jordans out, huh, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I do have.
All
some
I know,
fall
Jeff
color.
Closet is increasing of Jordans. So Jordans, if you hear me, sponsorship is in effect.
I seriously doubt they're going to sponsor me. I ain't got enough for them to sponsor me.
Jeff got to be in the hundreds.
I wouldn't mind having that DJ Khaled sponsor because he has like his own Jordans that's supposed to be coming out, man.
Dope.
What?
Yeah, he has Jordan 5s. He has some Jordan 5. It says like instead of having like the Nike sign on the back, or the Jordan symbol on the back, it says "We the best."
Man, they just doing anything now.
I ain't mad at man. Listen, man, God did. You know what I mean? That's what they say that. And speaking of that, you might as well get into prayer because, you know, God did this podcast for us. So
that's right. That's right. We definitely have to get into prayer. And first and foremost, I want to say I nominate Anthony on this beautiful day to pray.
Lord God, I just want to say thank you. And thank you for just giving us the opportunity to laugh. Mm-hmm. We take that for granted sometimes. Mm-hmm. Allow this conversation to be an understanding of marriage. I allow this conversation to say, you know what? Hey, when somebody's listening to this, they are revamping their marriage. They're redefining their marriage. They're asking themselves questions about their marriage and saying, is God in the forefront? The same way that you're in the forefront of this podcast, allow them to know that they should always be in the forefront of this podcast. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen.
Who's smacking Anthony?
That's funny.
I was smacking my arms.
Like a good smack right there, man.
Yeah, be careful. Be careful with that.
The Holy Ghost smack.
You just never know. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying, fellas. So, you know something? How is? Let's do a health check. How do you? So, Jeff, you are about to be 1 year in, right? Married?
December, yes, sir.
Okay, 1 year in, and Anthony 3 years in, correct? I just celebrated 2 years last month.
We all babies in this game.
Yeah. We definitely are. So there's still so much to learn. Still so much to grow. Like, I want to ask this question for real. Like, how is your marriage doing? Like, how is you and your wife doing right now?
For me, I would say I'll start off, I guess. We're doing great. Like, you know, we're about to hit a year in December. And, you know, it's been great. It's been incredible. Doesn't mean that it's been perfect. And I think sometimes people think that if it's not perfect, it's not going great.
Yes.
It's a huge mistake because marriage is never going to be perfect.
Absolutely.
But as long as like it's peaceful for the most part, you guys are getting along, you guys like each other. That's the key thing. Like each other, not love each other, because obviously you love each other. But I always say there's a difference between like and love, because you're called to love somebody naturally, but it's to like the person. You know what I mean? That's the thing. And as long as you and your partner like each other, which is great. Me and my wife, we have a great time. And we're continuing to learn each other. So, but it's good. So far, I would say we haven't hit a year yet, but it's been incredible. No complaints.
And Anthony, same question.
Nah, phenomenal, bro. As you realize in marriage, you begin to understand, like, it's up and down. But you keep on going. If you heard my prayer, when you start keeping God in the forefront, of course you're gonna have battles. Of course you're gonna have victories. And I think that's what it looks like to have a Christian marriage or just a
Mm-hmm.
great marriage.
Right.
And being able to know that you're going to go through this storm or you're going to go through this laughter with the person that you're married to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you begin to believe that, it's a whole different shift and dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I want to say phenomenal, bro.
Phenomenal. Okay.
What about you? What about you, Fred?
I would say like we're in year 2, and I'm just learning a lot, and I'm thanking God for everything that He's teaching us.
Mm-hmm.
And
Love it.
I would say we're at a point of, more than anything, we're at a point of just like learning why God needs to be the center.
Mm-hmm.
Facts.
Good.
More than anything. And yeah, you go through like you guys were saying, like Jeff was saying, like Jeff said something perfect, like your marriage is never going to be perfect. we
That's
we
facts.
can't compare ourselves to anybody on the outside, like, because that it's like, okay, they're doing that over there, why
Marriage
can't we be that
goals.
way? Why can't we do jumping jacks in the morning, or why can't, it could be anything. And it's like, why? Or either like, I can't be like, why can't you be a wife like this woman?
Mm-hmm.
She can't say, why can't you be a
Woo!
husband like this guy? You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying?
Good point.
You
Because
starting trouble.
yeah, bruh, you will do a detriment to your relationship in so many
Word.
ways. The thing we are building is something that we've never seen before.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So, like, literally, I've never seen it on my side because I didn't grow up with my father. Beans grew up with her parents, but that's a whole nother story. And we're building something that we haven't seen, something happy, something healthy, something amazing. And before the children come, we just want to make sure that we're good. We have definitely, we have been going to counseling and everything like that. And a lot of people like hear counseling, they're like, counseling? Oh no, what happened? What'd you do, Fred? Or what'd you do, Sabina? No, no, no. I'm glad to say we are, because it's our health check, bro. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we need to make sure that we're good.
I like that.
You know what I'm saying? I have to make
I
sure that,
love that.
like,
Thank you for being
any
honest.
unchecked stuff, bro, in me, doesn't pour over into my son, or,
Hmm.
or my daughter. You know what I'm saying? Same thing. Sabina's doing the same thing. And so I'm doing my health check, because you know, if your car is making a weird noise, what you do? You take it to a mechanic, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're not feeling too well, you go to a doctor, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? If spiritually something's going on with you, you go to church. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so we all have to go through these things. And I think more than anything, I say we are really realizing why God has to be at the center. And it's a blessing. That's what I want to say. We're in a
Good.
point in my long roundabout way right now. It's a blessing.
That's good. I love it.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you guys, like, uh, we have been discussing this topic, right? What and to our village, I want to make this disclaimer. To anybody out there that is single, or dating, in any no way, shape, or form do we want to throw our marriages in people's face or anything like that. We just wanted to let people know, like, hey, we this is what marriage looks like. You know what I'm
Facts.
saying? On the
Mm-hmm.
other side of that wall,
Now, what
we
Instagram shows?
yeah, not what Instagram
Facts.
shows, not them happy pictures, not them vacations and all of that stuff all the time. It gets down to the nitty gritty when you get down to it. I wanted to ask fellas, what's the top 3 things that you guys love about your marriage?
I think I'll go first. First of all, Fred, thank you again for sharing and being transparent in
Mhm.
this conversation. I think when we hear the word counseling in certain cultures, or I always talk for our culture, we
Mhm.
think the first thing we think about is whoa, something's going on. Divorce is around the corner.
Exactly.
And I'm like, whoa, your negativity, your
Mm-hmm.
programmatic thinking,
Yeah.
just chill.
Yeah.
Because actually, what you said was so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure I'm good. I want to
Yeah.
make sure my wife is good before we have a child, and
Mm-hmm.
then, whew, and then life starts to happen again.
Right.
Triggers start to happen again,
Mm-hmm.
and then you realize, whoa, I'm becoming just like my dad
Mm-hmm.
because you didn't take that time out. And I say that because Jeanette and I was going to counseling, I think in the beginning of the year, and it was just to make sure, like, hey, let's take an audit. I've said this before in the podcast.
Yeah.
Let's just take an audit of our marriage, see what we need to do. So that's why I can be able to say, without a doubt, my marriage is phenomenal. I
Mm-hmm.
think one thing I had to learn is learning how to not bring culture thinking into my marriage. I say culture thinking because when I when I was my first year of marriage, I thought that on Sunday my wife should be cooking.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I thought that way because my mommy will always cook on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only way that my mom would show me that she loves me. So I took that and said, maybe this is how women are women are in a marriage. So
Mm-hmm.
when one day I realized my wife did not cook on Sunday, and
Mm-hmm.
I confused my thought and believed that my wife did not love me
Mm-hmm.
because of a culture thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Until I said to myself, some thinking that I have has to be erased, and I have to now create a new type of marriage for myself and my wife.
Mm-hmm.
I had to realize, okay, what do you like to do? What do you like to create? What is it that I need to do to make sure that I'm the husband that you need? What do you need to do to make sure you're the wife that I need and want? And when we begin to start having communication, effective communication. And when
Mm-hmm.
I say effective communication, it's when I, the individual, is not just receiving it to be defensive, but
Mm-hmm. That's
it.
good.
I'm receiving it to create an action plan independently, but also together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I definitely
And
understand.
then as time progressed, we then begin to laugh more. We then begin to create a home, not a house, a home.
Mm-hmm.
Because I now be able to know, hey, you know what? I want to come home to my wife. I want to love on my wife. I want to create memories of my wife. I want to laugh with my wife. I want to even break the bed with my wife because at the same time, I'm creating those thought processes with my wife.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I have.
But and I was asking, what's your three?
Yeah, that sounds funny. I was like, okay,
I know
this is
your
great.
podcast. I know I went over a tangent, but I just felt to my heart that was in my spirit. So the
Oh,
three things are laughter,
mhm.
communication, and just go traveling together.
Oh, okay.
That's
Okay,
good.
I got
That's
it. I
good.
got you. I love that. I love that, man. And what about you, Jeff? Three things you love about your marriage.
Three things that I really enjoy about my marriage is I love the partnership that we have. Me and my wife. We um, there's never a question that
Jeff,
we don't have each
Jeff,
other's
can I
back.
ask you something? Can you
Yeah,
break down when you say partnership? Can you break that down for
yeah,
people that don't understand?
yeah. I was actually about to get to that point, but okay. I literally was just about to break it down, but okay. Um,
Got to my 3 points.
so the partnership is how we have each other's backs. Like there's no one person above the other. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. A lot of times, culture we look at as like the man's the head of the household, which and I do believe that to a degree. But like it's all hands on deck when it comes to our home. It's all hands on deck when it comes to our finances. All hands on deck when it comes to anything that we do. Like we have a partnership. We're a team. right? We have a common goal, which is to win in our marriage. That's how we look at it. As like, I always use sports a lot of times when it comes to examples, because I feel like sports is one of the greatest representation when it comes to like partnership, right? In order for a team to win a championship, to win a Super Bowl, all hands has to be on deck, right? And when you go through the journey of to be able to get to the point where you can actually win a championship, there's going to be some rocky roads, but you know that you have your quarterbacks back, right? You know that the person who's playing center or who's playing point guard has your back, right? So you know that you guys have worked extremely hard during practice. So when you guys get on the court, that you guys will be able to put in the best effort at the highest level. I view marriage the same way, right? And as far as like the partnership that I have with my wife, like we all have different roles and different positions, but we are partners in this, and our common goal is to win at the highest level at our marriage. You know what I'm saying? Which means that we will plan to have a family, we plan to buy another home, we plan to just continue to build and grow in our marriage. We plan to like be a positive example to those who may be looking at us as a Christian married couple. So that's what I mean by partnership, is that it's not, there's no one's selfish in our relationship, or in our, sorry, not selfish, I mean in our marriage. Nobody's selfish. We're very unselfish with each other. If I know my wife is working 12-hour days and I work from home, it's very selfish of me to be like, okay, so you're going to cook? You know what I'm saying? I go out and cook instead. You know what I'm saying? Or I'll clean the home. And some people may think like, well, that's a woman's job. No, it's a marriage. It's a partnership. Because if it's the other way around, my wife will do the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it's all about keeping doing what's best for your team to be able to win at the highest level in your marriage. So that's how I look. So that's how I look at that as one of the things I love about my marriage. The other thing, number two, that I love about my marriage is I love how we like each other. And I use the word like, is like, people like, but shouldn't you love your wife? Yes. Or shouldn't you love your spouse? Yes. I said this earlier on. You love your, when you get married, you're supposed to love your partner, right? Obviously, right? But there's people who are in love. There's people who love, but they're not in love.
True.
Right? There are two different things, right? And when you're in love with somebody, you can't help but like the person. You know what I'm saying? If you just love somebody, that does not necessarily mean that you like that person. God calls us to love our neighbor as we love ourselves, right? So you're supposed to technically love everybody, but the reality is you're not going to love the person, but it doesn't mean you're going to like everybody that you encounter. There's going to be some people that you're going to dislike, and you're not going to be around that person if you dislike that person, right? So like, we all know we have people in our life that we love, but we don't like being around them, right? We don't want to be around them, right? It's like, I love you from a distance, right? So it's the same thing with that, right? And so with your marriage, you should like also the person that you are with. And that's one thing, we generally like each other. We like being around each other. We laugh with each other. We joke with each other. It's one of the things that it's refreshing. It's amazing. It's great, because that's not what always the case is always going to be. And then the last thing I would say that I love about my marriage, I love that I know for sure, and it's probably just ties in with the first one thing I said, that we're building a legacy with each other. You know what I'm saying? There's more legacy is going to continue to carry on, in a great, amazing, positive way. And I love it. And I love like how part of that legacy is that, God is so much into our marriage, and we put everything into God with our marriage, like to the point where He would provide us revelations and dreams. And we go to church together. We're very involved with our church. We do everything that makes sure that God is at the forefront. We know that we were joined together because of God. We know we met each other because of God. We know that we would not be we wouldn't be together if it wasn't for God. Like, God is the number one reason why this marriage even exists. And I love the thing I love about marriage the most is that we recognize that, and we honor that, and we salute God for that so much, to the point where like He is casting favor not only on my life And my wife's like, because of that, you know what I'm saying? You know, a man who finds a wife finds a good thing, as the word says, right? And I seen how much favor has been placed in my life by finding my wife. You know what I'm saying? And the blessings of it. So many other doors are opening up, and vice versa as well. It's like it's just a whole different level. And that's the part, and that's the third thing that I really really enjoy about my marriage.
That's awesome. I heard nothing but great things and learned a lot as well. Which brings me to my list of three. Um, I would have to say the first thing is that we get to learn and educate each other.
Mm-hmm.
We get to learn from each other and we get to educate each other, because there's sometimes where um you know, we come across things where we it's not necessary, because sometimes people be like, oh, an argument, and you be like, no, it's not necessarily an argument. It can be something that we come across that we never knew, or one of us never knew, and we get the opportunity to educate one another, or we get the opportunity to learn from each other and really receive it. You know what I'm saying? It could be biblical. It could be like a scripture or something like that that I come across and I share with Sabina, and she like, oh, okay, all right, like that's what's up. Or it could be something in the world, like about careers that Sabina shares with me. It could be like just anything that we get to learn from and educate each other, and I get that for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like every
Awesome.
day. I think the number two thing that I love about my marriage is that we get to have adventures together. More than anything, like Anthony tapped into like traveling and everything like that. I would like to say that too. Like, yeah, me and Sabina, we love traveling together because it's always like turned. It's always turned up, and even to me, like something as little as like us going somewhere, I feel like we literally make it like an adventure. You know what I'm saying? It can be something as little as like, okay, we're going to the zoo today, somewhere that's local, and then we make it an adventure. And I'm like, this is my teammate. I'm Team Sabina forever. You know what I'm saying? Because like the analogy that Jeff used about going to the Super Bowl, that's your teammate. You work together. You don't work against each other.
Mm-hmm.
You're not on opposite sides. You're on the same side. So you're working together to win a championship.
Yeah. Your
And
spouse is not your ops.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. And then another thing I wanted to bring up too. Sometimes people take that security for granted, and they'll be like, "Well, you know, she always gonna be at home. She always got nothing to worry about." I'm like, yeah, but are you taking the steps to maintain your marriage? Are you taking the steps to check in with your wife? Are you taking the steps
Facts.
to, you know, get make sure you guys are working like a well-oiled machine and working great together, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to assuming that she's always going to be at home, to opposed to assuming, like to touch on Anthony's point, that she's always going to cook on Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
or like, because sometimes I think as men, our minds, we get into this process of like uh um, uh, um what is it, kind of like a pattern. Like we'd be like, oh, okay, so I'm gonna watch TV and I'm gonna watch what I want to watch, and then she's just gonna come in and join me. I'm like, what if she wants to change the channel? You know,
Mm-hmm.
what if she wants to turn the channel or something like that? What if, like, instead of y'all eating at home, she wants to go out?
Mm-hmm.
Do you still, or do you make sure that, like, hey, you collaborate? Because I think a lot of times men think like, oh, she's making me change what I do. No, 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 no. You collaborate. It's like a it's like a track, a studio track. Like y'all getting on the track together, and since you guys are collaborating, you're making sure, you know, y'all do what y'all need to do to make the song great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because a lot of times people think like, oh, they messing up my flow, or they messing up my world, and I'm like, no, this is what you wanted. You said when you walk down that aisle, and you said this in front of your whole family. You said I do. You said I do to make this work. You said I do to put the work in, you
Facts.
know, and that's what you have to do. The second thing I would say is adventure. The last thing I would have to say is that I love about my marriage is that we I would say that we both love God with a passion. And that's the thing that really drew me to Sabina more than anything. Like both of our passions are aligned. We both love God with everything,
Mm-hmm.
and we know that if he's not at the center of this, it does not work at all.
Fact.
We don't exist, and like with everything, it's not even because I'm this or she's that, or like I have this or that she has that. No, it doesn't work if God is not at the center. Everything that we have is because he gave it, more than anything. Like I was attracted to Sabina, um beyond the beauty. When I saw how she served at her church, I was like, yo, what? Like, because there were so many women I dated that they would tell me like, yeah, I go to this church, but they weren't going hard serving. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? They weren't actively like their pastor. They didn't have a one-on-one with their pastor in their life, like checking on them and stuff like that. They weren't going that hard, you know. And I'm not sending shots, but I'm just saying, that was what it was.
It wasn't
That's
for
what
you. That's not what.
that,
That's.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's what did it for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I fell in love with Sabina because of that, because she had a church community that loved her so, because she was very much involved and she didn't talk about it. She didn't say like, yeah, I just go to church, da 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 da. She said, yo, no, I serve on my AV team at my church and I'm very adamant about it. I had to learn this program. I got the laptop. My pastor gave it to me. I have a close relationship with my pastor. I was like, whoa, who is this? You know what I'm saying? And that's the main thing. Those are my three things. Um, one
What do you?
question I wanted
I
to
love
ask
that.
y'all. One question I wanted to ask y'all what is the biggest lesson you learned from a problem that you guys went through in your marriage? The biggest lesson that you learned from a problem that you went through.
Mm.
Good question.
I'm trying to think because I know me and Joanna had a few in the beginning. I can't think of a specific problem, but I can think of in the beginning we had to, because once you're married and you start living with the person, you really start to learn the person. So you start
Exactly.
learning their habits, you learn more of their dislikes and likes, and
Mm-hmm.
just things like that. You don't know anybody fully until you live with that person, right?
Absolutely.
And in the beginning, that it wasn't a struggle because it was we were still good, but the biggest lesson was that we had to learn each other's habits as far as living with each other.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Like for me, I'm very independent, right? I'm very independent as far as like I don't need my wife to cook for me. I don't need her to wash my clothes and all that stuff. Like I could do all this stuff myself, right? And you guys know, especially Fred, because your wife is my wife's sister, right? And they kind of grew up they grew up learning how to serve their partner, right?
Yeah.
And so they're very, very big on that, like fixing your plate, putting on the table, and
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff. And I had to like tell like, yo, you ain't gotta do all that. I can make my own food. I could serve my own plate. And one of the things in the beginning was there was one of the biggest lessons actually is when it came to washing clothes because I like to wash my clothes a certain way and certain clothes I get dry clean, right?
Yeah,
My
yeah,
wife is a type
understood.
like if she sees it on the hamper, she'll just throw everything in the wash machine and wash it. And so there was a few times where certain um, clothing items that I had, I was like, "Yo, why did you wash this?
Mm-hmm.
This is supposed to go in the dry cleaning." But she doesn't know that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Because it's not like I told her that, right? In my
right.
mind, I'm thinking that I'm assuming she should be aware without realizing I'm assuming she should be aware, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it happened a few times, and I got pretty annoyed and upset about it. And she was like, my bad. I apologize. I just want, I was doing laundry and I figured I washed your clothes as well. I didn't know. She's like, you know what? How about I just won't wash your clothes anymore, right? And I was like, no, we ain't got to do all that. And I
Mm-hmm.
realized I had to communicate better. And I realized
Yeah.
like I had to let her. I had to like it wasn't her fault. And if anything, it wasn't my fault, it wasn't her fault, but it was my fault on the way how I communicated with her. I should have communicated better. And then so now, after that, within like a month or two, we didn't have those issues anymore because what I did was like I separated clothes that need to be dry cleaned and I put them to the side. And then now, so if she decides to do laundry, because we both do laundry,
Right.
right? Like we don't have a household where it's like you do this and you do that. The only thing that Joanna doesn't do is take the trash out. I take the trash out every Monday and Thursday when the trash comes. Same thing with the recycle. I take care of that. I don't have the expectation of doing that. I do it because it's
As
just
you
what I
should.
do. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? That's the only thing that she really does not do. Other than that, we both clean, we both cook,
Right.
we both do, all of it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's why I said we have a great partnership because we don't look at this supposed to be a man's job or a woman's job or any of that stuff. Like because her job is very demanding. So it would be unfair again for me to put this huge expectation that she has to do all this stuff to take care of the home when my job is not as demanding. I have a lot more flexibility
Right.
compared to hers. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So it's like, yo, I take care of this stuff. So, but yeah, that was like the biggest lessons that we had to learn, or I had to learn rather, was just that even though it was just laundry, but it was just the communicating part of like learn how to communicate when it comes to certain things that comes up and not assume like, yeah, we live with each other now and we're adults.
Communication.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're adults now that, okay, you should be doing this or you shouldn't be doing that or whatever. No, no,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. Nobody's
Yeah.
going to, just because I get my Joes, just because I get my clothes dry clean or certain clothes dry clean doesn't mean that she's the same way. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
I want to go next. I have a good one. I think the biggest lesson that I learned was to not get uh, comfortable in certain areas.
Mm.
Don't get lazy in certain areas because like I remember it was like in our first year, right? And it was like we got married during the pandemic, so it was like up until like a color like I want to say 5 6 months into our first year, we were like it had been a pandemic, so we had been inside mostly. We would order in, she go to work, I go to work. We had a flow. We like Jeff said, like we learning each other's patterns, we're living together, whatever. But it came to a point where like, things start kind of opening back up. Things start, you know, it was still not all the way safe, but it was just like, things start opening back up. And my wife is a person like she loves to she can stay in like she a homebody, but she love when she goes out, she loves to like go all out. Like she likes to glam up. We know that my wife is amazing at makeup and she, she want to dress up and everything. But in that area, I had got so used to being at home that all I wanted to do was be at home, son. Like I was really like wanting to stay at home, like to a point where too, like I hadn't really been seeing my barber like that. Like, so my hair was out of control. Dude, like my beard was like unkept. And so I just got like real lazy in that area and stay inside. And then my wife was like,
It
she got
happens to a
only
lot of
boy.
people, man. They get comfortable.
Yeah, bruh. And
They
I
get
got
comfortable.
comfortable. And she was just like, babe, like, how long has it been since you've been out? You know what I'm saying? And, things have opened up. We haven't went on a date. And I was saying to myself, I was like, wow, like, yo, like, you're right. She was like, and you just walk around here looking like a caveman and everything like that. I was like, damn.
Like
She
she's
got
like, this
jokes.
ain't the
She
man I
roasted
married.
me, nigga. I was like, I'm about to roast her back, but I ain't. No, I'm playing. No, but she was getting to me. She was like, babe, like, what happened to this? What a swab do that I married? What a swab do? You know what I'm saying? What a confident suave guy I married that was taking me on dates and stuff like that. I was like, and I had to sit back and look at myself and be really honest and be like, damn, yeah, like in that area, I have gotten lax. And I need to be honest and say, like, yo, I need to take, would I rather my wife get that from like her going out multiple times with her girlfriends and be like, oh, but when I come home, he's just like fell into this pattern. So he's not gonna, take me out. It's just gonna be what it is. No, I don't want her to. I don't want that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to work in that area. So what I end up doing, of course, like
Cut
I
your
went
hair.
and got my got my hair cut.
You went to the barber.
Threw my earring
Pay
in,
$50
dressed
for
up.
his haircut.
Yeah, threw my earring in, dressed up. And before we started going back out, I did something kind of special for her. Like before we really started going out, like I was like, babe, we're definitely gonna go out next week. I have a date planned, but before we do go out, like she came home from work. I made a picnic in the middle of the floor in our
You so
apartment.
romantic.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Threw the red light on.
Sounds like you was trying to give the Thompson experience, man.
Hey,
Like set the Anthony
Nah,
would be. The
hey,
Collier
hey, hey.
experience.
Now, I was
that's the
trying to give her that
Collier
red light
experience.
special. You
I
know what
love
I'm
it, man. I love it. I love it. That's dope. That's
saying? Yeah,
dope.
I made a charcuterie board and with some drinks and stuff like that. Turned on some
Damn, I should have hired you.
Yeah, let me tell you. I hooked it up. And I did that. I was like, baby, we're gonna go out. We were gonna go out this weekend, but I wanted to do this first to let you know that I hear you, I care about you, I love you, and that I'm gonna work in this area and let's continue to date each other because it really is, especially with the pandemic, it really is easy to get complacent
Facts.
and get comfortable because it's like, bro, niggas is dying outside. No, and I don't mean that in no to be facetious. I mean, but it's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, that's what I felt like. I was really scared. I was just going to work and coming home. That was it. But you want to take time for things that matter more than anything. So that was mine. So I think the biggest thing I learned is just like, yo, like don't get comfortable.
That's good, man. How about you, Ant?
I think for me, I think I was like Jeff. Like, what did I learn? But I learned so much in this season. And I think what word comes out is support. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and how to define support because as as an individual you might think you're supporting your spouse but you're not really supporting your spouse. You could be taking out the garbage, you could be doing all these things, but that's not what your wife or husband needs. So
Mm-hmm.
for me with my Janelle and I had to realize that the support I was giving her through her entrepreneur journey is not what she needed. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember one day I was pissed when she's like, "Oh, you're not supporting me." I'm like, "What the f?" Uh, Hear what I'm about to hear what I'm about to say. Come home, I wash up the dishes,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll make sure you're good in regards to food. What does that sound like? It sounds like a Caribbean man. I come home, I wash up the dishes. We don't need anything else. But
Mm-hmm.
that's not what it was. It was more of, hey, babe, how's your business going? Hey, babe, how can I support you throughout the week?
Mm-hmm.
What do you need to be done?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I know you don't have to worry about the clothes. Don't worry about that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to now understand, like, okay, because that's what Janelle was telling me. I was listening to myself. I was listening to
Mm-hmm.
myself of what I think she needs. Hear
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying to the person in the back. I was listening to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start to listen to yourself, that's your partner is not yourself. Want to be clear, your partner is not yourself. It's you becoming one with your partner. So
Absolutely.
you have to
One
now have to
flush.
communicate. You, Papa, yeah, yeah. You have to now communicate, honey. What do you need in this season?
Mm-hmm.
How can I support you more in this season?
Mm-hmm.
And you may not get it wrong. You may not get it wrong. You might not at that moment. You might not get it right at that moment. But still, you're trying to create new strategies in this season.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I had to learn is how to communicate with my wife
Mm-hmm.
and how to support her in regards to what she needs.
Mm-hmm.
And talking about need in regards to this conversation, there's a question that was popping up while you guys were talking, And I was talking about for myself as well. What did you have to change about yourself your first year of marriage, or at this in this season of marriage? Because I know, Jeff, you're about to lead to that first year. So I want to know, in this season, what did you have to change about yourself?
I want to. I'll take this first. I would have to say I had to change the way I listened and understood.
Ooh, facts.
Because
This is such great.
the biggest thing I realize is like that comes from my family and the
Hmm.
way, like we listen, but we don't really listen to understand. We listen to respond,
Yeah.
and that's not a good thing. And if you don't catch it, you find yourself just jumping on top of uh, what was said as opposed to responding to what is being communicated. Uh, it definitely can be a detriment because it's like sometimes it's like you're just trying to people please or you're
Yeah.
trying to just entertain
Hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
the conversation, or maybe you're excited about having a conversation with the person that you're having it with, and it's
That's so
okay to be
good.
excited, but make sure that you're listening to the said person that is communicating to you, and listening to what they say, and listening to what they say, like, and really like saying like, hey, I heard what you said, and to respond to what you said,
Mm-hmm.
this is my response, as opposed to like them saying something and then you being like, okay, and this is how I feel, you know and you didn't respond to what they said, you just gave your opinion.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I
Mm.
think that was big for me.
That was so good. I just want to jump in. I think that's what I had to learn, bro.
Mhm.
Like real talk, like just to piggyback on what you're saying, like that communication,
Yeah.
effective communication. I thought I was communicating, but
Hmm.
my communication wasn't effective because I can see myself being defensive. I
Hmm.
literally can like while I was doing that counseling, you really begin to say, "Oh snap, I am being defensive."
Right.
Because I'm literally have a whole paragraph after you're finished your talk, after you finish what you feel.
Hmm.
That means that I'm not listening. I'm literally just trying to be defensive.
Hmm.
And no one wins when both people are mad and both people are arguing, shouting to the top of their lungs. And I had to realize like that's not what a godly marriage looks like.
Hmm.
I think in the Bible it said die to yourself. It's like I had to figure out where did that come from.
Hmm.
I had to realize that definitely came from childhood trauma, where it's like you can't talk up for yourself. So you're now at a point in your marriage. It's like, yo, I'm just trying to defend, defend, defend. So it's
Right.
like you're just trying to defend that child in you, and you're not
Mm.
realizing that the person you're trying to defend has your best interest at heart.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's like
True.
at the end of the day, it's like I remember my wife. Oh, she be saying things that be something be clicking in my head. She said one day, she said, "I'm not your enemy," and I
Mm.
was like, "Fudge." So
Hmm.
how I'm communicating is how I will communicate to an enemy.
That's good.
And when I realized that, I had to say to myself, okay, Anthony, maybe yes, start praying about how to communicate effectively, but read a book on effective communication.
Hmm.
Okay, so I start the conversations. I hear what you're saying. I acknowledge what you're saying. Is this now you're starting to now change your language of communication. We
Right.
talk about this throughout our whole podcast about language in regards of finance, in regards of what you call it, manhood. Marriage has its own language.
Hmm.
When you see people get up at weddings and they're 33 in the game, 40 years in the game, or even 10, 12 years in the game,
Hmm.
when you're 10 to 12 years in the game, that's a whole decade. You with one person effectively. So at the end of the day, you have to make sure that you yourself is growing. So I think for me, it was really that communication piece.
That's
Mhm.
good, man. That's good. For me, I would say the biggest thing that I had to learn was being more intentional with um my wife's love language, her main love language, which is physical touch. Because I'm not the most um affectionate person. And so she is. She loves, affection. She loves being touched, rubbed on, and hugs, and especially hugs. Like that's a big thing for us, like a hug, right?
Mhm.
And I don't really care for hugs like that, but I had to understand like this is a need of hers. And if I'm saying this is a partnership and I'm saying that we're a team and our goal is to compete and win at the highest level as a married couple, in every aspect, you know what I'm saying, then I need to be all hands need to be on deck, even with this part that is
Mhm.
not necessarily my first love language or second or third. And I remember one day, she told me one day, she was like, sometimes I feel like when you don't hug me, you know what I'm saying? Like if I'm the one that has to do it first, it's like I'm almost translating that like you don't want to touch me. And I'm like, that's not
Mm.
the case, right? At all. But I
Yeah.
had to
Ooh,
understand,
that's so
and
good.
at first I was like, what are you talking about? Right. And then I had to realize like you gotta understand that's how she perceives one of the ways she perceives love and wants to be loved is that. And so, okay, I was like, you know what? I got to meet you halfway on this because you should never feel that way. I should never make you feel that way, right? Just because I do
Mm.
everything else,
Love it.
I help cook, I help clean, you know what I'm saying? And all these different things, very protective of you. Anything that you need at a drop of a dime, I got you, whatever it is.
Mhm.
But those are great, but don't forget this main piece over here for that she needs. You know what I'm saying? Because that's her rock solid foundation of what she feels like makes her feel special and love is having somebody that she adores and loves want to hug her and kiss her and all these different things. And it's not like I don't enjoy it because I do. It's just that it's just not my thing. And I had to learn that. I had to like really learn. That was like a big lesson in within almost about to be the first year of my marriage was to make sure that I feed into that for her. I feed that appetite for her because she deserves it. You know what I'm saying? Because she has no problem when it comes to anything that I need that she will go ahead and do. And I have no problem doing anything that she needs that, you know what I'm saying, that I will do. But when it comes to that part of it, it's like because it's not my first initial reaction, I
Mhm.
have to remember like I need to be more intentional about it because she wants that. You know what I'm saying? She
Yeah.
needs that. So yeah, that's the biggest lesson that I've learned so far for the first year.
Side note question: when did you were always like that, bro? Like affectionate, like not that affectionate.
I don't come from an affectionate family. That's all it is. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
We
okay,
don't.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. We're not the huggy, dovey, lovey type family. That's all it is. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And B's like, wait, I got a Jeff moment though. I remember this one. I remember this one time we went. We went on a march,
Mm-hmm.
and we went on a march with my church up in Harlem. Anthony remembers this. Jeff remembers this. My wife was there. This is before I got married. So we were all marching. Then it started raining, and I was like, "Yo, this is looking like right out of the civil rights era."
Oh yeah,
Fact,
yeah. Cause
We
sorry in
was
that
having
fact,
nowhere.
a good time.
Sorry in that
fact.
nowhere.
Amazing time.
And then Jeff, then we it was like almost we were almost done with the whole march, and then it was like midway raining. We started taking pictures. We was shouting out the chant and everything. Then Jeff turns around. He was like, "You know what? Man, I love y'all niggas, man."
Yeah,
he, he,
he catch me at the right moment.
yeah, he shows love verbally. You know how Jeff shows love. I'm
Yeah.
gonna tell you how he shows love. This is how I think. This is my version of Jeff when he shows love. Consistent, consistent.
Mhm.
This man sends prayer every day, even
Yes,
on his
abs-
birthday.
absolutely.
And if you ask him at, say, for example, it's 5 o'clock in the morning, if he can, and your car broke down in Pennsylvania,
Mm-hmm.
my son will drive out there. So I think
Yeah,
Straight up.
we
most
when
definitely.
we define love,
Mm-hmm.
we gotta define love, and this is what I was talking about in regards of the conversation because Jeff and Janelle they had like similar characteristics,
Mm-hmm.
and I begin to like realize that, and
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? They show love different.
Right.
Yeah, that because that's how like that's how I grew up, and most
Yeah,
people I've been around
Mm-hmm.
growing up, we all were kind of like that. You know what I'm saying? Like we weren't like we're the type we'll go out our way 100%. You know what I'm saying? If we can do it, we'll do it. There's no question about it. You
Mm-hmm.
know
yeah,
what I'm saying? But we're not like the mushy
yeah,
type. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like this just not my brother's not like that. My sister's not
Yeah.
like that. My mom and dad's not like that. So that's where
yeah.
I get it from. And
Mm-hmm.
even like a lot of my other peers that I grew up with, a lot of my friends, we none of us was really too much like that. You know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
even the era I grew up in, like it wasn't like that. And I'm not saying that that's right, and I'm
Right.
not saying it's wrong either. What I am saying
Yep.
is that
Uh-huh.
that's how I grew up, and then now obviously it reflects in my marriage. But and even with some of my friendships, like the example like you was giving Anthony, but I had to remember my marriage made me realize this was that um though I may have grown up that way,
Mm-hmm.
right or wrong, not saying it's right, not saying it's wrong,
Right.
but if my partner
Mm-hmm.
is the opposite and she
Mm-hmm.
needs that, she needs like the mushy type, she
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah,
at times she needs the affection, and sometimes overly affectionate sometimes, and I need to receive it, then I
Right.
need to do that, and we learn to compromise halfway. She's like, okay, I know my husband is not the mushy type, so I'm not going to expect him to be
exactly,
like that every single day, but
Mm-hmm.
every now
exactly.
and then I do want to feel special and loved by him in that way. I know he does,
Organically.
yeah, organically, so I want him
Right.
to be the one who comes up and hugs me and tells me I'm beautiful
You know.
and all that other stuff. You
You
know
know
what I'm
what's
saying? And I had
you
to
know
learn
what's
that.
so interesting, Jeff, is like what you saying that is like, and I realize my family is the opposite, and then it's just like, and I realize sometimes in areas we may struggle to be more firm, you know,
Mm,
Mm,
and so that could be
this
like,
is so good.
yeah. It's different because it's like you're so lovey dovey, and you want the best, and you want to sympathize, you want to empathize, you want to be like, yeah, I want to support and everything like that. But sometimes, those serious conversations have to come, and it may be harder, and that's a challenge I've had
mhm.
in certain areas. It's like, not that I don't want to have the conversation. I've never ran away from a fight or never
Yeah,
ran away from like that stuff. I'm like, because I know it's a part of life and it has to happen, but it's just like, it's like a breaking down when I have to have those conversations, because I want everybody to be happy,
it's a fact.
Mhm.
you know, and that's how I grew up, even in bad circumstances, and my environment was crazy. It still is like we still had each other, so we still had that joy, you know, and
Yo, I, I had that's bro. That's interesting. Like that firm.
mhm,
Um, I just want to go back to what we was talking about in the beginning.
mhm,
Something you guys said. Should should you should should you or not
mhm.
um say, damn, I wish my wife would do that. I wish my husband would do that. Is that a bad thing? Like,
I
not let me get some more context.
yeah,
Land
no,
the
go
Not to
plane,
ahead.
land the
not
plane.
not to communicate that to you because I think that's horrible. I want to make sure I'm clear to the
Yeah.
person in the middle of the class.
Mm-hmm.
Not to communicate. Oh, I think why can't you do that? X, Y, and Z. That's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
But if you like something and say, you know what, I'm gonna communicate to my wife like, hey, can you try this? Um, because that's something that you might like because you may not have thought of that, but
Mm-hmm.
because you're in a different environment, it's like, oh, I could try that better. Case in point, I saw how, like, for example, when Jeff was cooking, I was like, oh, I should cook more, even
Mm-hmm.
though I don't cook at all. But in the same case in point,
Mm-hmm.
I would say, you know what, I should cook more. And
Right.
I tried that for like 2 or 3 weeks because I saw something in a different environment. And I saw
Mm,
how it made my wife happy.
right.
Yeah, I think it's as long as it's something that will better your marriage,
Yeah.
then yeah, I would just say like I think sometimes, and I love how you explain that. Thank you for letting that plane beautifully, because sometimes when you if that's not explained properly, and even if people take it the wrong way or not understand the context of it, people
Mm-hmm.
look at because oh, you should never compare your wife to somebody else or compare your husband to somebody else or another husband,
Absolutely
right? Because
not.
that
Fact,
gets very dangerous, right?
fact,
Straight
It,
dangerous.
it gets yeah, exactly.
fact.
Comparing is always a it's just not it's not a good idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can look at like the example that Anthony gave that he said he saw me cooking. It's like, you know what? Maybe I'll cook a little bit more. That's
Right.
something positive and maybe even motivational to do in your marriage that that it would help. Like there's nothing you only can help out in that situation, right? You have nothing to lose. If he did it for 2-3 weeks and he realized like, yeah, I suck at cooking. Not saying you do, Anthony, because I don't know how your cooking skills are, but you made
Mm-hmm.
the attempt and you seen that your wife, because a lot of times, especially with women, they love just the effort, right?
Exactly.
And they see the effort. Like I know this is out of his comfort zone, or this is something that he does not normally do, but I see he's trying. They will appreciate that, right? Most will. They will appreciate that, and vice versa too, right? And vice versa. Like my wife, she's not into sports, right? She's not into
Mm-hmm.
sports. Me, anybody knows me, know I'm big on sports, especially when it comes to the NBA, when it comes to basketball, football. I love it. You know what I'm saying? I love going to sport games. I love watching my sports, all of that.
Yeah.
That's not Joanna's thing. But she knows because I like that. She'll
Mm-hmm.
go to a sporting event with me, or she'll sit down and maybe watch it for a little bit with me. And I don't expect her to, and I have zero expectation of her sitting down watching a game with me. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would be nice if she liked sports. I grew up in a household where we all watch sports. Me and my brother and sister were big on sports. But I don't have
Mm-hmm.
the expectation my wife does that. But seeing her at times that she's made the effort, like we went to the Knicks game and she enjoyed herself, even though she was asking me questions, throughout the game, like, oh, what is a 3-point shot? What's a free throw? Because she doesn't watch sports, right? And of course, I look at him like, man, you really kind of like grew up like under a rock, man. Like these are some basic things, but that's my babe. You know what I'm
to,
saying?
to
Jokingly,
you.
but exactly that's the thing to me, because that wasn't her thing. Her thing was church growing up, but she made the effort to go with me to a sporting event, to a Knicks game,
Yeah.
and she had an amazing time to the point she's like, yo, I would love to go again. And even if she
That's
didn't
great.
say that, even if she was like, man, this was, it was okay, it's not really my thing,
Right.
I still would have been fine with that because she made the effort to go. So my point is that it's not it's I would never say try to compare, because remember,
Mm-hmm.
you're only going to get 80%. It's like that 80-20 rule. Your,
Yeah.
your spouse is going to be 80% of what you want, because nobody's perfect, right? There's going to be
Mm-hmm.
20% is where it's going to be like,
Yeah.
I do kind of wish my wife did this, or I wish my husband could do this, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But you kind of look at what outweighs. You know what I'm saying? 80 is bigger than 20. You're never
Yeah.
going to get anything more than that. You're not going to get a 99%. You're not going to get 90%. You're going to
Yeah.
get that 80-20. And
Right.
so the 20 that you don't get, you could just look at it as like, either you wish they could, if they make the effort to do some of those things, or it's like, you know what, I'm just kind of going to accept it because it's not a make or break type of situation. But
Right.
there are ways you can communicate,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe show that, hey, you know what, I
Yeah.
wouldn't mind if you tried this, if you're comfortable
Right.
with it.
Absolutely. And to piggyback off that, like I said in the beginning, comparison can kill a lot of things for you,
Mm-hmm.
if you're not careful. Like, but it's nothing wrong with, if like if you have an interest and your wife wants to come in and like see what that's about, what I'm saying? Like for me, with makeup, my wife's world is makeup. So I'm not gonna pretend to know what any of this stuff is. But if she
Don't be
wants me
putting
to,
on no makeup now, bro.
oh hell no.
Let me find out if Fred and Beans are doing like a YouTube channel,
No
and she's
sir,
and she's
no
putting makeup
sir.
she's putting makeup
I
on
will
Fred to
not be the
try out.
clown.
I'm like, yo, let me talk to my
Now,
brother real quick about
fellas,
this, man.
fellas, fellas, I have to admit that one day I did put on a wig for Janelle so she can, I think, comb out the knot that she had on it, but she needed a head. Pause.
Yeah, big pause. Big pause. Big pause. Because that right there could have been taken out of context.
Yeah.
Yo, out
Thank
of
you for
pocket.
clarifying that.
That would have been an out of pocket statement right there, bro. But gotta continue. Continue, sir.
So
I was her
what?
head that night. Pause.
Okay. Thank you for throwing the pause in there, sir.
Oh, man.
So it's nothing wrong with common interests. No, but like if my wife wants me to go to a makeup gig with her, I'll go just to support her and so she can feel loved and secure and everything like that. And I'll be there with my, drinking my coffee. And if I remember one time I went to a makeup gig with her. It was in a hotel. They had a TV, bro. They had football on the TV. I was chilling, bro.
He was like, "Oh, I'm Gucci now."
Oh yeah, ain't nothing else to be said. She was like, "How you doing, babe?" I'm just checking. I was like, "You can go back upstairs, actually." You know what I'm saying? This game good,
Mm-hmm.
But it was the fact that, like Anthony always says, like it's the fact that you show up. You know what I'm saying? And I showed up for my wife, and the same thing, vice versa. Like I've watched one of my things is battle rap. I love watching battle rap, or just hip hop in general. Beans will literally sit down. There's times where she has sat down and watched battles with me. You know what I'm saying? Or like even us going to the concert.
Mm-hmm.
She was like adamant about like me going to see the concert. For my birthday, like. It's nothing wrong with sharing common interests. I think the problem becomes when your wife isn't one thing and you're trying to, and you see a girl, a woman or whatever, and you be like, hey, can you be dressed more like her or something like that? That's when the issue becomes like, because then what if she comes at you like, hey, well, what can you be this guy? You know what I'm saying? Like you will be taken back. You would be more defensive.
Yep.
Comparison can kill a lot of things.
Whew, that's a fact.
In your marriage. You gotta be careful. And fellas, as we land this plane, my last question is, what would be, I know we're babies in the marriage game, all of us, but as we've learned to live with our spouses, love our spouses, and to enjoy and wake up every day and choose to love our spouses, like what is some advice you would give to a couple that is getting married right now?
The biggest advice that I would give is make sure that, and literally make sure you hear this all the time, like a couple that prays together stays together. Make sure you really do apply that. Add God into it from the beginning.
Yes.
And all the way till you're laying in your deathbed. You know what I'm saying? Make sure that God is in every aspect of it, because once God is in it, half of your battles will be resolved. Half your battles won't even come up.
I love that,
because you're gonna understand why God joined you guys together. You would understand the covenant. You understand the relationship with how God view marriage, between the relationship between Jesus and the church.
Yeah.
And once you understand that concept and you apply it by praying, going to church, reading your Bible together, whatever it is, but it's like, as much as like you could focus on each other's love languages and apply those love languages, the biggest language is God's love language. You know what I'm saying? And that's love, right? And love is patient, love is kind. You know what I'm saying? Does not boast, it's not envy. All those things that's in 2 Corinthians verse 13. You apply that to it. And once you get that solid foundation, I promise you, your marriage is going to be beautiful. It's going to be beautiful.
Wow. And what would your advice be to a couple that's getting married?
All right, that married couple that's getting married, come to the front of the class.
Oh God.
Come to the. You're not at the front of the class yet. Come to the front of the class. Okay, now you're there. The red flags don't go away. The red flags do not go away. They actually amplify because you live together now. So
I got
please communicate those red flags and the things you don't like, because they're going to empathize when you're in your marriage.
Okay, I see that. I see that. Uh, to this
Good,
married
good.
couple, to the married couple that I'm speaking to right now, um, you made it this far, and as you go, as you jump the broom, make sure that every day you stay friends more than anything.
It's a fact.
Be friends. If you were friends before, continue to be friends. I cannot tell you how many times me and my wife, we just laugh together. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
beautiful.
We just be teasing each other. We shoot, me and my wife, we actually had a we're at war in terms of having a water fight. And it's just random times. You know what I'm saying?
I love that. That's dope.
It
Some
just be
people don't got
random.
clean water, but y'all just fighting.
Yo, let me tell you,
Must be nice.
it's random, bro.
wait,
It's random.
wait,
Like,
wait.
I don't
You
think
yo,
still
she
got a
still.
house.
Let me tell
You
you,
don't got
she
to pay
still.
water bill.
Anthony, she still got to get me back. I don't know when it's coming. I'm scared as hell. Like, but like, if you're friends, yo, I'm telling you, it will enrich your relationship and your marriage so much more, and it will help y'all. And you guys will learn, and you'll have no trouble building. Like, I
Mhm.
love what Jeff said, of course, about yeah, you definitely have to keep God at the forefront. I love what Anthony said about the of course, your person is your mirror. You know what I'm saying? And those things do intensify. Those things that
Mhm.
you get mad about at while you're in counseling, premarital counseling now, you probably still gonna be mad about. But you have to, if you want, if it's worth it, you work on those things. And if this
Word.
is your, and if you look at this person as your friend, you be like, I can talk to my friend about this. You know, this is
Mhm.
yes, this is my wife is my wife or my husband is all of these things. She's my wife, she's my friend, she's my lover, she's the mother of my kids. She will be the woman that I will stare at for the rest of my life, and my companion. But more than anything, the one thing I'm most glad, and also my sister in Christ, like, but the one thing I'm most glad about is that like we were friends first, you know. And once you see that, I'm telling you, it will enrich so much more, and you'll be able to have fun for the rest of your life with that person.
That's good, man. I love it.
Woo!
Apply
Yeah.
all three of these things that we said, people.
Yeah,
Please.
most definitely. And to the people that are looking, and the people that are single, do not rush in. Take your
Fact.
time.
And do not look at Instagram as marriage goals,
Fact.
because it's
Ooh,
not.
talk.
Because it's not.
It
That's
is
figment of
definitely not.
imagination.
It is.
Because they going through stuff you couldn't even imagine.
Yes,
Fact.
yes, 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 yes,
You know,
yes,
you
yes.
do
And
not
and
understand.
I want to add this real quick, and we can wrap this up real quick.
Mhm.
Do not look at some of these celebrities or some people you see that are getting divorces as like this is why I'm
Mm.
not getting married.
Ooh.
I
Listen,
was just about to go there.
there are so
I was
many
just about to go
marriages.
there.
There's so many people who have been married for 20, 30, 40 and are extremely keyword happy.
Mhm.
So don't look at one bad seed and think the whole batch is bad. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Everybody goes through things and they have their reason why.
Yeah.
But listen, marriage is amazing. Marriage is beautiful.
Yes.
Again, look at those that you see that's been married for 20, 30 years. You can look at anybody and that are happy, generally happy with their marriage and that's gone through it because those two can give you the advice on how they survive
Yeah.
throughout their marriage as well. So,
And the thing we have to understand about celebrity marriages is that they go through an extra set of scrutiny, as opposed to like a person people that are not in front of cameras.
word.
So we have to understand that like it's possible. The other day I saw this 85-year-old man and his 84-year-old woman. They have been married for shoot, I think it's been like it was like 5 decades. And
Whew.
he was oiling her scalp. And he had been doing that ever since they were married, you know, ever since they had got married. They were both in their 80s. So it's possible. It's definitely possible. Not even just that, but I've seen marriages my friends' families, and shoot, my grandma and grandpa. You know what I'm saying? So it definitely is possible. You know,
Mm-hmm.
more than anything. That's my last word. What's your last word, Ant?
You guys said a bunch of stuff. I think for me, love your partner like you're dating your partner.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I say that because I think Fred and Jeff, you hit on that. Don't don't stop dating your partner.
Mm-hmm.
Um, act like you still trying to bag. Act like you still trying to get that one person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's how, for me, I think that's how you boost up your marriage. That's how you increase your marriage. It's
Mm-hmm.
like don't stop dating.
I love it. I love it. Yo, this has been an amazing
I
conversation,
love this
fellas.
conversation.
This has been a conversation of transparency. It's been a conversation of learning,
Uh huh.
and it's just been good, you
If
know.
y'all want part two with our wives, what they think about it, let us know.
Yeah,
Just let us know.
that could
I,
definitely be a good conversation.
let me tell you, you can phone in. You know, let us know. Phone in. I don't know where you gonna call, but phone in. You know,
Yo,
definitely call us. Uh, no,
phoning.
but yo, man,
Call me now.
I can't wait to listen back to this episode and catch the
The
gems.
facts.
And Village, definitely feel free to DM us. Feel free to definitely watch the IG live. And yeah, until next time, peace.
One love.
Peace. One love. Self care is the best care.